Hi, I'm Kelly. It's late at night. It's about 3:13 a.m. right now. So kids are asleep, so I can talk and not worry about extra noises in the background at the moment. But I wanted to show you guys really quick. I've been doing a ton of research on the actual seeds that we have, and I wanted to just give you a basic look at a few of them. I have a lot that I haven't done yet, but for what I have finished so far, I wanted to give you guys a quick look. As you can see here, I'm doing this in Excel. So I'm putting the pictures to be able to recognize the seeds or the plants really when they start growing. This first one here is black mulberry. So I've put down other names that they are called, what's edible on them. As I do the research, if I find something that could be used in teas or something like that, I tend to put that in here. Blooming information is around the time that they bloom, as well as the colors of the blooms, and in some things any other extra information that might relate to that. Other uses in this particular one, I don't have anything in that column, but as you can see down here with the next one, there is something there. So any other uses people have for them, whether it's using the wood to do carpentry or using some of the, whether it's the bark or something for a balm or something like that, that'll be in this area. If it can be used for a I can't remember what it's called at the moment, but I'm sure I've got it written in here for some of these. Basically where it'll help with erosion. But anyway, this is the zones that it grows in, the possible height that it can get up to, planting space in here. Most of these I just have how far the plant spreads. I'm not sure on most of these ones yet how far apart they can be planted, or if they need to be planted, double what their spread is, or approximately what their spread is, or something like that. I'm still going through that. I'm not completely new at gardening. I have done a lot of gardening before, but these are new plants that I have never grown before, so I'm trying to do as much research on these as I can. So going across here, you can see, the zones that they can grow in, the height, planting space, then their soil preference, what they like to grow in, what they can grow in, sun needs, basically how much sun they need or not sun. If they have any poisonous parts, I figured that was a pretty good thing to have in there, because I know some of these do have some poisonous parts to them. Whether or not the seeds I have are heirlooms, so these ones are specific to my seeds. What the packed for date is, or the collection date on them. Some of them further down in my list are seeds that I've collected myself. So that's what I put in that column instead of packed for. As most seed packets, if you look at them, will have a, sorry, just a second here. So a lot of seed packets on them will have a packed for date usually on the back. In this one, it's down here in the bottom corner. So it just depends on what your seed packet is. This particular one is 2017, so I don't even know if those will grow anymore. Some of them have grown, so I know it can on some, but I'm not sure the viability on those. But anyway, so packed for date, collection date, pollination. This is basically, it's more than just the pollination, but that's just what I titled it. But it can be how they grow, how they reproduce, whether they require pollination, whether it requires a cutting, whatever it takes. Their growth rate, other information that I found from other sites, whether it's Wikipedia or whatever. And then the other information I have from the buyer specifically is in the last column here. and that's got a lot of stuff in there too. And you can see I've done quite a bit of research to get this much information on each of these, but I wanted to do a really quick look through so you can see. The first one, as I said, was black mulberry. Then let me use my arrow here because it's not wanting to move quite right. Okay, so the pink rugosa rose, it has edible rose hips. Most of the ones on here that I've chosen are ones that are either edible or that will be really good for bringing in pollinators or feeding pollinators, because we are planning on having bees. So riverbank grape is something that we can eat, but it also has some blooms that can bring in butterflies, bees, things like that. California redwood tree, we actually really love redwoods, and if it's possible to grow them, I would like to. I don't know if we'll be able to or not. As you can see over here in this column, the first column, sorry, they are considered endangered. So if I can help with that, I would like to. Again, this is one we are researching, and I don't really know everything there is to know about it yet. So, not that I ever will, but I try. Then there's the French lilac, Japanese quince, which from what I understand is not a true quince. I hope I'm saying that right. I've never actually eaten them before, quinces or this type, but these are, let me see if I can find the spot that says it. Astringent, unless blooded. The fruit is called karin, I think, in Japanese. I've never taken Japanese. My husband knows more about it than I do, but I do listen to him when he says things. Let's see. I think somewhere in here is, there it is. Okay. This fruit is occasionally used in jam, jelly, and pie making as a substitute for its cousin, the true quince, Sidonia, I think that says, oblonga. I don't know. I'm not real good at scientific names. But I thought it was interesting to find out that that one's not a true quince. So, spinach, hops, pineapple guava. This one is one that it says it's fairly small in size. It only goes up to 10 to 15 feet. We can do a greenhouse big enough that I think we could do this. It also can be, if I remember right, this one I think can be bonsai'd, which should mean that we can keep it a little bit shorter than that 10 feet. So we might be able to do that one in a greenhouse. There's winter honeysuckle, Oregon holly grapes, and I don't remember if it's this one or the previous grape, but one of them is an actual grape and the other one is not. This one's the one that's not. It's not actually grapes. The Oregon holly grape apparently is related more to the barberries, which I've never had before, but they look similar enough to grapes that they are called grapes. Red huckleberry, butterfly bush, which we found out after purchasing are considered noxious Class B flowers or plants in Washington. So if you don't know about those and you are looking into buying them and you're living in Washington, you might want to look at that. If you're somewhere else, you still might want to look into finding out whether or not they might be noxious in your area. Caper bush, pomegranate tree, pumpkin. The Big Max pumpkin, I found out, is one that has a lot of meat in it that is still sweet enough to use for food. So we were planning on using that one for food. I do also like to roast seeds, so either way, this pumpkin works good for us, for our family. And there's a bunch of other things. There's witch hazel, variegated kiwi and hardy kiwi are both more of a kiwi berry is what I've heard them called. They're really only about that big. They look and taste very similar to kiwis, but they aren't, from what I understand, actually related to the regular kiwi that you would expect. They're not furry on the outside. They're more of a thin, almost grape-like peel or apple-like peel or something like that. I have tried those, and I did like them. So that was one that we wanted to do, and the kids liked them too, so I thought it would be fun. And like I said, some of these will be done in the greenhouse, and once I get through all of my research, I will know more about which ones are that and not. There's wintergreen, black chokeberry, showy medlar, mimosa silk tree, trumpet creeper vines. That one's not a food one. That one is a really good one for hummingbirds and butterflies and stuff like that. Arabian coffee, low bush blueberry, goji berry, Asian pears, which we do like, Japanese raisin tree, sea buckthorn, purple smoke tree. Really pretty. When you guys see the pictures of that, it's so pretty. It's very fluffy looking almost. Chinese magnolia. There's a tomato in there. Natal plum, which I thought was interesting because it says that it's the color of and the flavor of strawberries, even though it's more like a plum, more related to a plum. I thought that sounded interesting. Rhubarb, black spruce tree. That one actually is almost entirely edible. I was really shocked to find that out. If you haven't heard of it, look up spruce beer. It's really interesting. It is something that's made from the spruce tree, mostly from the needles. But you can use other parts of almost all of the parts of the tree are edible, which until I learned about the spruce beer, I had no idea. So that was pretty interesting to find out. Strawberry tree was something, it's also called the Irish Killarney tree. It was something that we found along the banks side, I don't think it's a riverbank, but I don't know. But along the sides of the water in Bremerton, Silverdale area-ish, that I found the berry, and it was so interesting looking. And this was 3 years ago, I want to say. And it was absolutely fascinating looking because it has these little bumps on it that are almost spiky looking, but it wasn't like sharp. It was, can't really say smooth, but it was soft-ish. It felt like a berry. I didn't want to try to eat it because I didn't know what it was, but I took pictures and I tried to find out at the time what it was, tried to look it up. And the closest thing that could compare to what it was a lychee berry. But when you looked at the inside, it looked completely different from the lychee berry. So we ended up never finding out what it was at the time until I was looking through and getting seeds, and then I found that completely by just happenstance and realized that that was probably the same plant, same tree, bush, that I had found over in the Bremerton area. And I looked into it and researched it more, and it turns out it absolutely is the same bush. And they are edible. So it will be interesting to, maybe we'll go back and see if we can find that bush again and try one of the berries and see what it's like. But it was one of those things that I thought was absolutely fascinating and really cool that we could find that. And I know it grows here because I saw that. So, yeah. Purple flowering raspberries we got because they're thornless. The American elderberry. And then there's another unique one, blue sausage fruit, which I don't think I've mentioned on this yet. But the blue sausage fruit has another name, and it's dead man's fingers, which is fascinating to me because the look of it's a very deep purpley blue the fruit. It is edible. And when you look at it, it's about the size of a man's fingers. I guess from the research I've done so far, it says that they also feel like the ripe fruit feels like a dead man's fingers. I don't know who's going around touching dead men's fingers and finding this out, but it was interesting to find that out anyway. The other really fun part is that they usually ripen right around Halloween, which is technically tomorrow. It's 3:29 a.m. now, so yeah, technically tomorrow. But anyway, I thought it was really cool, so it was another one that I was like, this would be fun to try, and it was only like $2 for the package, so we'll try it. We'll see. We also got the Saskatoon service berry, and then they gave us some snapdragons, mixed colored snapdragons in the package that we got, or in the bundle of seeds that we got with that one. And then all of the ones past that point, the muskmallow flowers are ones that, and I just this morning finally confirmed that is what they are. Just kind of appeared randomly on our front lawn, and I have no idea where they came from. They just started growing there. It was kind of pretty. They're beautiful color. A very interesting light, like a pale purple, almost pink color. But the blooms themselves open up in the mornings, and in the evenings they start closing, and they do that twist and close kind of like morning glories do. So it was something that I collected the seeds to find out what they might be, and that's what it turns out those are. Also picked up some acorns, which one of them is actually rooting, so I'm kind of excited about that. I'm hoping I can keep it alive long enough that when we get our property, we'll be able to plant that as one of the first trees that we plant on our property. And then there's a bunch of other things in here that we have from previous seeds that we've bought. I have this bucket is kind of full of various different seeds and seed packets and stuff. But all the newest ones are in here. You probably can't see them very well, but there's a whole bunch of them in there. But anyway, there's a ton of seed packets in here, and I don't know which ones will grow anything or which ones won't. And there's things that some peppers and stuff that we've collected. These ones were from Papa's garden, so my husband's father. So we have seeds from him, and we have a whole bunch of seeds from when we were back in Idaho, and which was about 5 years ago ish, yeah. 2016, I think, is when we came here. Anyway, so we have a whole bunch of different seeds, and there's a bunch of different ones. There are dandelion seeds because I picked them from, or I got them from the flowers that we had in our yard. Partially because they can be eaten. They are a potential food source. They are good for the bees. So to me, it's worth it. And I just went through and listed all of the other ones, all the other seeds that I got. Also found out that a flower that came with a carrot breed right here that came from Idaho with us is also considered noxious, but class C, which apparently is okay if it's, let me just read the description. Class C weeds are noxious weeds that are typically widespread in Washington or are of special interest to the state's agricultural industry. The Class C status allows county weed boards to require control if locally desired, or they may choose to provide education or technical consultation. So it's one of those that we may or may not use, probably grown indoors in a window or something if we're going to do it. They are small. They are Parisian carrots, So they're like little ball shaped carrots. They only get like that big. But yeah, that was a seed packet that came with us from Idaho, so we'll have to see if that actually grows anything whenever we get to that. The hummingbird, butterfly, bee, pollinator flowers, I have not gone through and seen what all of them are. So I know that it's a mix, and it's one of those seed packet mixes that I got back from Idaho, so there may or may not be some things in there that are considered noxious as well. There's a whole bunch of various different seeds in here. Some of them that we collected or picked ourselves from foods from the grocery store. There's apple seeds in here that we picked up. If I remembered what type of apple it was, I would have put that down too, but it was a few months ago or so that I collected those. Radishes, tomatoes, carrots, chives, all different kinds of things. Lots of little lettuce varieties, morning glories that my daughter picked out, the youngest one at least. The amaranth is another one I found interesting. Amaranth apparently has edible seeds, but the really interesting part about it, even though they are very small seeds, you can pop them like popcorn. I didn't know that was possible until I did a little bit of research on those. So yeah, I have a decent size list here of 120 something. So since the first line is just labels, it's 128 varieties of seeds in here that I have listed that I'm doing research on, and I think I've gotten to maybe the 18th or something. No, not even that far. I am on the 15th seed right now doing my research, so this is going to take me some time. It'll take a while before I can get through all of the research to see what all I can learn. I did start ahead a little bit and put the pumpkin stuff there, so that's number 16, but I'm not quite done with 15 yet, so I can't say I'm done there. But I don't know if you can even read that. I hope you can. There is quite a bit of research in here on all kinds of different things. At some point, when I get through all of this research and compile all of this, I think I'm going to try and find a way to offer it to some people, to some of our viewers that are watching if they're interested. I don't know how or what I'm going to do with that. It might be a Patreon thing. I really don't know yet. But if I'm going to go through all this effort and all this work, I don't want to just be the only one who's benefiting from it. So I want to see if we can offer it to other people as well. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. Alright. Also, if you guys didn't already notice, we have decided on a name for our homestead. It's going to be Whitefall Homestead. There's several different meanings to it, different reasonings why we picked it, but in particular, we are browncoats. We are huge fans of Firefly, and whether that's confrontational or not, or whatever for people, I'm sorry, but we do love Firefly, so Whitefall was something that just felt right for the name for us. So, alright, if you guys have any questions on any of those and you want to know more, or if you think you might know some decent way that I could share this information, or at least some of the information with you guys, I would really appreciate finding out an easy way to do that. So if you have any comments for me, let me know, and I hope to see you guys again. Don't forget to subscribe.